Hello everyone, I'm here in the latest 1.17 snapshot, which is 20W49A, which has just released the Sculk sensor, and I've messed around with it a little bit and here to explain some of the technical aspects of it. So the first thing is that the Sculk sensor will detect a lot of different sounds that happen nearby, and the strength of the output signal, the output redstone signal, is determined by how close you are to the Sculk sensor. So, for example, in regards to placing blocks, this is the output redstone signal for when each of these blocks were placed or broken. So you can see right next to the Sculk sensor, you get a signal strength of 14 if you were to break this block. I'll show here. If I was to break this block, you can see you get a signal strength of 14, as well as if you were to place that block, you would also get a signal strength of 14. And as you move out, this decreases by 2, 14, 12, 10, 8, 6, 4, 2, up until I believe this is the 8th block away. It goes down to 1, and then the 9th block away is a 0. So I have this shown here. So this dome is all of the blocks, or the furthest out blocks, that when broken or placed will activate the Sculk sensor. So for example, here, if I was to place this block here, that does not activate the Sculk sensor. But if I was to break this block, that does activate the Sculk sensor. And all of these black ones I've placed, I believe I didn't see any that were 1. They should all activate for signal strength 2, except for these outermost ones here. These activate for signal strength 1. So the only time the signal strength output is ever 1 is when it's at these cardinal points here. So I guess is that 6 points at the outer ends of the sphere that are exactly 8 blocks away. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 blocks away from the Sculk sensor. And everywhere else where it detects will be signal strength 2. So that's an interesting way to detect just the outer ends, is to make sure that it's signal strength 1, at least for block placing. Now, I'm not sure if I was to fall right here, would it detect that? Maybe you could end up in a location on a slab or something over here where a footstep would be signal strength 1. It's hard to sort of test everything, but at least for block placing, it'll only give signal strength 1 at the ends. And the same is true horizontally and vertically. So horizontally, 14 up to 1, 14 going down by 2s up until here, where this is a 1, and obviously the block above it doesn't activate it. The Sculk sensor also has a special interaction with the comparator besides just the signal strength output. So the signal strength that comes out of it will be determining how close the action is to the Sculk sensor. So that's sort of a separate thing that you could take the output of. The comparator measures what they're calling the frequency of whatever the action is. It's basically a way to determine what triggered the Sculk sensor. So for example, if I was to fall, this will always have a frequency of 5 regardless of where I am. So if I fall right on the Sculk sensor, it's always a frequency of 5, versus if I was over here, still a frequency of 5. So it's independent of the strength. And as you can see, as I'm walking around, that has a frequency of 1. If I shot an arrow, so I believe shooting the arrow is different than the arrow landing. So if I was to shoot the arrow, it'd be a signal strength of 7. And if an arrow was to land near the Sculk sensor, it's a signal strength of, is that 8? Yeah, that's 8. let's see what else is there. So there's block placing. That is a 12. And I believe block destroying is a 13. Let's see. Is that the same for like redstone? Yeah, 12. I think there may be something for like using a block. So if I switch this to a dot, no, okay. So it won't detect that. Obviously the breaking redstone is 13 still. What about switching a comparator? So it doesn't detect switching a comparator. I think there are special things for like doors and chests too. So if I open this chest, I believe that was an 11. And I think, well, let's see. I'm going to wait for this to deactivate. Now closing the chest, is that also an 11? No, that is a 10. Opening the door is an 11. And closing the door is a 10. Then opening the trapdoor is an 11. Closing the trapdoor is a 10. So it seems to be opening anything is an 11 and closing that thing is a 10. I can't really speak for everything though. I wonder, are ender chests included? Seems to be. That's an 11, and I assume closing it was a 10. So hoppers you can look in just fine. Barrels will also activate the 11, and I assume closing it will activate 10. Yes, okay. So pretty much anything that you would think of as making a sound when you open it. I mean, I guess that makes sense. It's supposed to detect sounds. But it's a little hard to get the intuition of what exactly counts and what exactly doesn't. But I think an interesting thing maybe would be a self-closing door. Let's see if we can't build that up real quick. So the basic idea is kind of here. I have a system for detecting when I get a signal strength of exactly 11. I think it's 11. So then when I open the door, it'll exactly close again. The problem is it enters into this loop. And so, you know, you kind of need to, somehow prevent it from opening again when you repower it. Because closing the door happens by depowering the line. But then to reset and repower the line ends up just opening the door again. So there's not really a good way to repower the line without opening the door. The real problem is walking up to the door activates the Sculk sensor, and of course it takes 2 seconds to reset, meaning I walk up, open the door, and nothing happens because the door didn't activate the Sculk sensor. My steps did. And so this is basically the issue. Of course, you can try and maybe use wool to occlude things and put things in like a hallway. You know, if I do this and I walk up to the door, that seems to work. So maybe that's just the solution, is to use wool blocks when you're walking up, but then you still have the same problem of it entering into a loop. There's not really a good way of solving that. So yeah, so the self-closing door was a little bit of a failure because it's just going to keep opening and closing over and over again. Well, no matter. I didn't want this video to be too long anyway, just some useful information about how the new Sculk sensor works and some of the technical mechanics around its strength and frequency and all that stuff. Very interesting, very excited to see what people do with this in the next few days and weeks, I guess, as the Sculk sensor sort of evolves in the coming snapshots, if they do make any changes. So thank you guys very much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video.